Welcome. You are about to take a journey to a place of the divine love within with Deborah Beauvais on the Love by Intuition show. For the next hour, allow her to prepare you in becoming a magnet for a profound love-infused relationship by identifying and focusing on solutions through love. Awaken the light within and let your essence shine. And now, here's Deborah Beauvais on Love by Intuition, all part of the Dream Vision 7 radio network.
Welcome, everyone. Bonjour, mes amis. And yes, here I am. Welcome, everyone, to the new year. This is our first episode for 2025, and it's an excellent one. If you're tuning in for the first time, we are a Boston-based internet radio station. You can hear us anywhere in the world. We have our own apps. You can listen on Alexa. You can listen in the cars, anywhere. You have your mobile devices or online, you can hear this show and all the others. I invite you to take a look at our site. It's Dream Visions, all one word, with an S on the end, the number 7, radio.com. This is our 18th year, and just take in everything that we're doing, all the hosts, what their podcasts are about, what their radio shows are offering, and we are here to feed the love consciousness. We are here to uplift you, give you tips of living fully in a conscious, awakened life. And we're going to start right here with Jeff. Jeff actually was with us back in September. You can go on our Dream Vision site and listen to that particular show because it was all about his journey of life and losing his loved ones and things of that sort. Today, we are going to be talking about an app that he has created, his own app called Brightn, and it's BRIGHTN.app, and it's focused on Generation Z. So Jeff Johnston, his life changed forever on October 4th, 2016, when his oldest son, Seth, died from fentanyl poisoning at the age of 23. A successful entrepreneur and financial advisor in Iowa, Jeff set aside his career to advocate for substance abuse awareness and mental health. He has spoken at schools. He joined the board of local treatment facility. He launched the Living Undeterred Project in 2020 to challenge stigmas surrounding addiction. That same year, he wrote his book, This One's for You, an inspirational journey through addiction, death, and meaning. He lost his wife. From there, he lost his wife, Prudence, to alcoholism. Determined to spark change, Jeff completed a 95-day nationwide tour in 2022 and is now focused on the Brightn app, as mentioned, for Gen Z. So without further ado, welcome to the show, Jeff.
Hi, Deborah. It's great to be back. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can, perfectly. Yes.
Awesome.
Let's get right into it. And for those that may not know the details or such, most of us know that Generation Z is ages 14 to 26. And I didn't know, but it makes up 1/3 of the world's population. And so let's talk about Gen Z right now. For the people that don't know, what are their problems? Why do they have more than others?
That's a great question. And before I dive into Gen Z, congrats on 18 years. I didn't know that that's how long you've been doing the show, so that's awesome.
Oh, thank you. Actually, the show is 21 years. And
who's counting, right?
The station is 18.
Oh, okay. So 21's better then. No, that's great. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And I'm really, I'm honored to be back because, last time we spent the full time talking about what happened and kind of the ups and downs of dealing with losing a loved one, which many of us have, and if you haven't yet, you will eventually. And now today, I want to talk a lot about like my contribution, like our solution, what I think, what I'm trying to leave my legacy for my boys and my family is the work that we're doing to. And I'll be very intentional in the words I pick today. So for people listening, there's a reason why I say things the way I say them. But Gen Z is a generation that, unbeknownst to me, and obviously, you were kind of shocked by seeing that statistic, kind of snuck up on us. They're the world's largest generation. They're a third of the world's population, and they represent 2.56 billion humans. So they ain't going away. They are here to stay, and they're going to basically take over everything that we built. I'm 58, so I'm at the crossroads of like a boomer and a Gen Xer. So, but yeah, when we were looking at ways, and I say we as in my family, trying to pick like a lane, like where we want to advocate for, because you can't save everybody. So I got into the recovery community and so forth, but Gen Z was always, Deborah, pulling at my heart. It's like, as Desmond Tutu said so eloquently, we got to stop pulling people out of the river, and we got to go further upstream and find out why they're falling in the first place. So I was just perplexed with the proliferation of prescription meds and the labels and diagnosis, and it's like, that's how my son started. His whole death spiral was a attention deficit disorder diagnosis by a doctor at 15, which was, again, the antidote was Adderall, and buried him 8 years later. So it's like, again, I'm not throwing any doctors under the bus. My dad's listening, and he's a 92-year-old retired doctor, so that's the last thing I would do. However, I think our rush to prescriptions in this country, especially for young adults, really has to be revisited. So I had a lot of reasons why Gen Z was something that I felt compelled to really focus on solutions.
Which is perfect. And through all this tragedy that you've experienced, you have found your path. And I always find that interesting. All of us, through adversity or something that we receive, that we just know this is our path. And then you go to town and make it all happen to make a difference in people's lives. And that fills them up with love. And we also, us, the one that's giving, we are filling up with love as well. I think that is what we need to focus more on, and how we can come together in diversity instead of being, just pulled apart and at each other. So, for no good reason. So, it's a disconnect there. So tell, you brought up about the prescriptions, and I'm all on that with you, because so many people are on antidepressants or anxiety meds. And you bring up a good point as far as we have normal human emotions, and that's how we get to feel on this earth. That's how we get to feel the different things that happen. And for some reason, it's been turned into, oh, you must have anxiety. And I'm sure that Seth experienced that. I mean, was he just at times just going through his emotions?
Yeah, he was just like any other 15-year-old, in this case, male, anywhere, not just the United States, but anywhere. He was funny. He was confused on some certain things going on in his life. He was angry about politics, and he got into conspiracy theories like we all do. Heck, a lot of adults still have this big thing with conspiracy theories. And he was just exploring and loving life. And then we were at a teachers conference, and I remember the teachers, I still have the report stuff, because when I wrote my book, I actually put some of this in the book, where they were saying Seth's disruptive, and he's not paying attention, and he's a distraction. And I got to thinking, well, gosh, so was I. If my dad's listening, he would agree. I was all over the place. I couldn't control anything. I had full-blown attention deficit, but my dad, being a doctor, never really told me it was a label. He just said, hey, little Jeffy, you get excited easily, tone it down, And so I took Seth to the doctor, Deborah, because I didn't know what to do. I was coaching sports. I was running my investment firm. I was married, 3 boys, I just thought, well, there's got to be a quick fix here. And so I believed that he had a disorder, and we walked out with Adderall. And, it started innocently like that. And a lot of people listening here, I'm not trying to get them off anything because you have to talk to your doctor about that. However, I can only tell you my life experience and my story, and then people can take what they want from it. So for me, it started with Adderall from attention deficit diagnosis. That's when this whole thing started. And he started abusing it and then selling it at school, like as an upper or something, because all it is pretty much watered down meth. And it just, experimenting with alcohol and things like that. And he started going down that road where we were just putting out fires all the time. And, eventually he was incarcerated a couple times, and I thought that was rock bottom, because that's what everyone tells you, right, Deborah? It's like, you got to hit rock bottom. Well, for some, rock bottom is death. And then, unfortunately for Seth, that was the case. And so I thought getting out of prison that all of a sudden he would, get his stuff together, and this would be that wake-up call. But unfortunately, the addiction world is so strong, and the substance abuse, that the community is just so alluring. It's that sinister pull of drugs and alcohol. You think you got to figure it out, and then all of a sudden you don't. And he got back into that lifestyle, and we think he had just been trying heroin a few times based on the marks that were on his body. So it wasn't like he was a heroin addict. Not that it matters, but I think when we talk to kids and young adults about these labels that, adults give them, you don't necessarily have to believe everything that you're told. You have an obligation to yourself to do your own research and get a second opinion and change your diet. Try some other things first. But anyway, kind of rambling. But that's kind of how it started with, that's how that's how the whole thing started. And I went back to think of, if I could go back in time and, and do things differently, what would I do? Not to torture myself. Hell, I had enough guilt after he died. It almost killed me. And I still harbor some second doubts, things I could have done differently, but that's not productive in my life anymore. So I try to go back in time, and instead of extrapolating data that's painful, I try to look at the data that is, I can learn from it. And right. I tell you, after going through all this, and then what I went through with my wife, Prudence, dealing with the loss of a child, I just can't even, some of your listeners maybe have dealt with it, but it changes your DNA. And for her, some of the, I don't know, I'll just leave it at that. For her, it was very challenging, and my heart goes out to her. And so what can I learn from all this? Well, the app was really a way for me to take, in one case, the cell phone, which we can talk about why I think this generation is really struggling, but the cell phone, which seems to be a big problem, and make it, instead of their worst enemy, make it their best friend. And that was the idea behind, at least the idea of starting with an app.
Mm-hmm. So how can we fix the cell situation? Because we're just going to continue to expand technology, which is so wonderful in so many other areas. So how do we, for the parents out there that may have young children, what would you suggest? Or like your boys are still young. Do they get a cell phone and get into all of that when they're 8 years old?
Well, my sons are older now. Even when Seth was younger, Instagram and TikTok wasn't around. I think Facebook and MySpace and stuff were the predominant social media. But anyway, so one thing I've tried to do, Deborah, and again, I occasionally make this mistake, but especially with parents, is we really need to reframe this as an opportunity to believe in our young adults and less an opportunity to try to fix them. And I think this mindset that we have to fix things as parents is part of the problem. Most of these kids just need love. They just need believed in. They need listened to. They need understood. And we as in, I was guilty of this forever. It's even when I started the app, I wanted to fix these kids. They're broken. They're damaged. It's no, they're not. Seth was not broken. He wasn't damaged. Even when he was in the grips of his addiction, he wasn't broken and damaged. He was just Seth. And we can't leave it at that.
That's a good point that you bring up.
Yeah.
In the way, yeah.
Go ahead. I was just kind of making that point about
Yes, and I agree with you that we should, you make a very good point. We should use our terminology differently, and we should be looking at things on how we can turn things around without that fix. But we tend to, this needs to be changed. This needs to be,
right.
Get all caught up with it.
Yeah, and I think for us it was like looking at the two major things that everyone blames. Obviously social media, and with this whole TikTok stuff that we just went through, we can see what stress can cause when you take away something addictive like TikTok. I mean, there's adults that were, adults were just like really devastated. Businesses ruined when they thought it wasn't going to come back. But and so, we can fight and say, oh, you can't have your phone, or we're going to take it away from you at a certain time, or you can't get on these websites. But I just ask adults, how did prohibition work out? When our grandparents couldn't buy alcohol, how'd that turn out? I mean, we find ways to do what we want to do, and once they've been exposed to the social media and the negative parts, it's very difficult then to punitively take it away. So that's part of the issue. The other issue is those kids that haven't started yet. Those are the ones that I'm referring to about moving further upstream. So you've got two sets of young adults. You've got the Generation Alpha, which really hasn't started any of this yet. And then you have, Gen Z, which is, even Gen Z and even my generation, we're just so addicted to these things. So it's like, how do you build something where we have engagement, which we have done on the Brightn app, but we don't want to addict kids? So we didn't want to build this app and create it into a social media app where I'm building a Frankenstein monster, literally, trying to get kids to get off social media. And here I build something insidious and so destructive. So, yeah, we did not want to come to market and be social media. And we're not even telehealth, which is the beauty of the lane that we're in. We're in empowerment. We're focused on empowering. So, like, when I get into a little bit about some of the mechanics of the app, people ask, well, is this a prevention app? I mean, your son and your wife and a lot of people, they died from drugs and alcohol and stuff. Are you trying to prevent that? And I'll tell you this, Deborah, right after Seth died, I got invited to go to schools and speak. So I was like, going around the country and speaking at these, where these kids were meeting in these assembly halls and stuff. And I would tell them, don't do drugs, you're going to die, and don't do this and don't do that. And I would cry. And then I'd get to my car afterwards and I'm like, man, there's no story of love here, Jeff. Everything you're telling these kids is fear-mongering and scare and don't look under the bed and don't open the closet, don't do drugs. And I thought to myself, yeah, that's my story. I'm angry fentanyl dad. I'm going to scare kids and not do drugs. It ain't going to work, Jeff. Not going to work. So I benched that whole ideology when we started building the app, and we wanted to be empowerment. So we're not prevention. We are empowering young adults to make better choices when it comes to their mental wellness.
And there are 3 areas of focus: health, wealth, and purpose. So tell us a little bit about that, because we only have a couple minutes before we go to break, and I don't want to disrupt your flow.
Yeah.
But a little bit about those 3 pillars that you believe is the foundation for balancing.
Yeah, and I just published a white paper 2 weeks ago. So if anyone on your show wants to reach out to me, Jeff at brightenapp.com, I'd be happy to send them a copy. But so, Deborah, when I was looking at the business model, I was thinking of, I'm going to build this app. I'm going to put a lot of money, a lot of time into this. I've got to get it so it can be effective. I went back to my roots of what I did for 32 years. I ran a wealth management firm, so I did investments. Well, first thing you learn with investing people's money is you don't put all your eggs in one basket. I mean, my grandma told me that. So you do something called diversification. You put the money in stocks and bonds and real estate, and now you could say crypto and all these other things, and you didn't put all your money in one investment. Well, I get into the mental health space, and it's not that way at all. Matter of fact, it's almost the opposite. You go to the gym to fix your problems. You meditate. And I just saw a broken system where it was very episodic. So instead of preparing for things that you're going to have in your life that inevitably happen, we just wait until somebody has a problem. Then we come rushing in to save them. And that's how the system is designed. And so I thought, well, in investing, if I had stocks, bonds, and real estate, what would the asset classes be on a mental wellness app? Like, what would I invest or try to heighten my sense of confidence in areas to make myself have a better lived experience, right? And it dawned on me, health, wealth, and purpose, and that became our intersection of optimal mental wellness. And that's what we built. So I think last time I checked, unless someone's copied us, we're the only app on the planet that has a mental wellness focus on optimizing your education and your confidence level in these three areas of health, wealth, and purpose.
Very good. And again, mention the app because everybody needs to remember the name of that and the way and the choice of why you. Yeah, I can't. Yeah. And the reason you chose that name.
Do you want me to share that now or wait till break?
All right, we're going to take a break. Everyone, stay with us. We'll be back in a moment. This is a live show, and you can call in, all you listeners. Bob is in the house. You can call. He'll put you through, and you can talk with Jeff directly or myself. 833-220-1200. We'll be back in a moment.
Experience a different yet profound healing with Reconnective Healing. Includes yet expands beyond any and all known forms of energy healing. The Reconnective Healing spectrum is comprised of the full healing and evolutionary continuum of energy, light, and information. It allows for healings that are not just physical, not just mental, not just emotional, yet go beyond that to bring healing that includes the evolution of your very being and essence. Deborah Beauvais, trained and certified by world-renowned Dr. Eric Pearl, offers appointment hours at Seekonk Family Chiropractic in Seekonk, Massachusetts. For questions or to set up both distance or local sessions, call Deborah at 508-431-1959. Again, 508-431-1959. Or go to lovebyintuition.com. That's lovebyintuition.com.
Calling all authors. Have you been considering an audiobook? Well, look no further. Come take advantage of Dream Vision 7 Radio Network's unique in-house audiobook production, which includes benefits and bonuses from our radio station. Let our knowledgeable staff guide you to create the audiobook you've always dreamed of without breaking the bank. Check out our full one-stop service from A to Z, including the ACX process. Schedule a free consultation by calling 508-226-1723. That's 508-226-1723. Or go to dreamvision7radio.com.
After narrowly surviving the attack on Sandy Hook Elementary, first grade teacher Caitlin Roy DeBellis was left searching for answers that would never come. Eventually, she chose to focus on questions that could be answered. How do I make sure this tragedy doesn't define us? How do we get our control back? Those two questions led her to found the 501c3 nonprofit organization Classes for Classes. When gifts poured into their classroom, she decided they would help someone else by paying it forward and being kind. This developed into a social network which allows K-8 classrooms to connect so that every student in the United States can learn these crucial lessons. Classes for Classes' mission is to build students' social-emotional intelligence by connecting them to care. All C4C projects are crowdfunded. Any teacher in the U.S. can visit classesforclasses.org. That's classes, the number 4, classes.org. Sign up today.
Delight your kids with an enchanting journey by reading the Paper Doll Kids children's book by Deborah Beauvais and Janine Sullivan. There's even a catchy tune, Kids for Love Song, produced by Bob Sherwood and sung by kids just like yours. The story weaves around 7 paper dolls flying around the world doing good deeds as they bring important attention to our endangered animal friends. There's even a magical ring with a universal message. Kids become interested in service projects, action through compassion, and planting seeds that nurture positive change. The Paper Doll Kids and Kids for Love song are a production of the Kids for Love Project. Get the book now on Amazon Kindle and the song on CD Baby or iTunes.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.
And we are back. And again, our number here to call in and talk with our guest, Jeff, is 833-220-1200. 833-220-1200. You'll be connected to Bob, and he'll connect to us. And we are talking with Jeff Johnston, and he has been with us earlier in September, and we are focused right now on the app that he has created for Generation Z with a comprehensive app designed to encourage young adults to proactively manage their mental health. And before the break, we were just going to share how Brightn got its name. Jeff?
This is an actual true story. But the first 6 months or so, I had a different name. I won't say the name, but I had a name that kind of made sense to me and stuff. And then we were meeting with the dev team that I hired, just kind of like having an update meeting. And someone recommended that we maybe look at changing the name. And so now I'll tell you where I was sitting. I was at my old office, so I just retired or left the company that I had built up, and my office was pretty bare. I had a desk in the middle of my office, and that was about it, a phone and some pictures. And I'm just looking around the room going, man, what am I going to name this thing? It's like, what do you name the company? And I looked over, and I see this little picture, and it was an ice cream that was melting, and it was drawn by my granddaughter. And I'll go back and tell you, when Seth died on October 4, 2016, 3 weeks after he died, his daughter was born, my granddaughter. Mm-hmm. And her name is Brightn. And it's spelled with an O, though. And so I looked up, and I saw the ice cream there. And now granted, my office is bare. There's like nothing really there. But here was this symbolic sign, or this poster looking at me, and I just saw Brightn, and I just turned to the speakerphone, and I go, let's name it Brightn. Let's brighten young minds, brighten young hearts, brighten young lives. Yeah. And that is like, it's a true story. I remember it like it was yesterday. Yeah, me too.
And when you think about it, it's perfect because it's bright. It's brightening up your path, brightening up your outlook, everything. It's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's great when I get to see her. I pick her up, and she's like, "How's my Brightn app doing, Grandpa?" And I know in my heart, she's only 8. These big questions are coming. It's one of the reasons why I wrote the book. In the first line of my book, I wanted to dedicate the book to Brightn. It's the only time I ever talk about her in the book. But I thought, she's going to be 12 and then 13 and 15, and she's going to have all these questions. Everybody's going to have their dad at birthday parties and sporting events, and her dad's not there, and her mom's not there either, and her grandma's gone. It's like everybody else is in this happy world and being taken care of in here. And so I was like, no, I need to create a different story for her. I need to create a different narrative for her. She'll ultimately have to decide how she's going to deal with this. But at this age, I still have a lot of influence at 8 years old to turn, get her to start reframing difficulties in her life. And that's all I can really do. I can't do anything else. But that's where the name came from.
Yeah, that's great. And your love will feel that, and she'll make good choices. I mean, you said it earlier, and I'm a true believer. If kids feel loved, truly loved, then it's not that they're going to choose the right path all the time, but they have that foundation to fall back on.
Yeah, it's like I just feel compelled try to teach her coping mechanisms. And, on the app itself, it's not, she's too young really to get any benefit, but I did get in there and show her some neat things and just trying to kind of introduce her to, hey, adults have problems. And, and I tell her that, I talk to I do my AI journaling entry and stuff, so she can see that even Grandpa, is working on his mental health, that we're trying to destigmatize it by, one thing to me about Generation Z is parents can certainly be better examples. I mean,
right.
If you don't want your kids to be drinking, then maybe you don't drink in your house. Or if you don't want your kids to be smoking or vaping, maybe you quit. It's like, that's like the first thing we can do as parents is to lead by example,
Agreed. Yes. So take us through, someone signs up. And it's all about, they have the app there with them, and it's structured, which I think is another key component for kids when bringing them up, that they have the structure. They still have free time and all of that, but there's structure in their day. So walk us through, someone signs up, and we know what your goal is. So what do they actually do?
Well, when they first get into the app, we have 9 very short kind of onboarding questions just to kind of set a baseline. We have a patent pending on something called the Brightn zone, and it's the 3 areas: health, wealth, and purpose. And our 9 questions, we have 3 in each area: 3 health, 3 wealth, 3 purpose. And then our AI then basically gives you a kind of not a number, so we didn't want to label and say, oh, you're an 85, but it gives you a range. That's why we call it a zone. So it tells you whether you're high in wealth, knowledge, or you're low in it. Now, granted, it's only 3 questions, but it does give us an idea somewhere to start. And then from there, our AI starts recommending opportunities and routines and programs that you can do. So we have about 300 one-minute videos on the app that we've done the last year. Yeah, because, this generation has about a 1-minute attention span. And I would say most adults, even if they're on TikTok, they're probably not on more than 5 to 7 seconds per slot, per screen. So, what's a 10-minute video going to do on an app when a 17-year-old is in the grips of, their girlfriend breaking up with them? They're going to watch a 10-minute video? Probably not. Will they watch a 40-second, short or a reel? Probably. So we took that idea and we really made all the opportunities in the videos very short. So, we start recommending things. So the more that you use the app, the more our AI can recommend solutions or programs for you. We do get questions about the AI because obviously there's horror stories about AI, but it's like electric cars. When they first came out, you heard really bad things. People got in accidents, heck, people died. But over time, they made it better. I kind of look at AI that way on the app. We're trying to make it as best as we can. We have guardrails built into the AI where it can't go, rogue on you. But I think as AI evolves, we'll be doing the same thing with the app and making the experience for the person using the app as engaging and, as fun as we can, staying in the mental wellness type arena. And so, that's kind of the first thing that you do. And then you can start working on your mood tracking and your journal entering. So the AI features that we've added, Deborah, and this is a number I just saw yesterday, but our average engagement on the app about 90 days ago, so a little bit shorter than when I was on your show last, was about 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So the average person was staying on the app. We have 1,000 people on the app, by the way, but the average person was on for like 2 minutes and 30 seconds. We added AI, mood tracking, journaling, all these really cool features. And we went up to 17 minutes over the last 90 days. So that's like a 500% increase in engagement. And we didn't have to be manipulative or trick anybody. We just did it in a way that piques their interest to keep learning.
Right, because I feel, and I'm, I'm a grandmother, so I have a different perspective on the time element. I know the younger ones, like what you're stating, is a few seconds, but I wonder how much, I like to ponder. I like to just sit with it, see how it feels to me, and then make a choice or make a decision. So I don't know. I'm thinking that people that are 40 and up should be taking in just as I'm explaining, and it would be under 40, but maybe not. Maybe I don't have the right facts.
Well, it's funny you say that, because the last time we looked at the numbers, we have an equal amount of parents and adults using the app than we do young adults. So we're seeing a lot of, we didn't really think of that a year ago, but as this thing's been building out, we've realized that there's a lot of people that are getting onto the app, and they're gravitating to certain areas. They're not using the whole app, but they're going to like the journaling and the mood tracking and the sharing and all these really cool community things we're building. And they're realizing that they're getting some benefit from it. And everybody probably gets a different type of benefit, but if you're having a tough time and you journal, and the journal is suggesting alternative ways to look at your current situation, there's not a lot of downside in that. And that's what we're finding with, the cost of the app is very affordable. It's about 20 cents a day. So, we're not a free app. We do have a free version on the app, but it doesn't allow, the maximum benefits that you can get. So we offered the ability to buy up and unlock some of these things. But we're finding that once people are on this app, and they, especially on the journaling and the mood tracking, they tend to stay a little bit more engaged than they were before we had this stuff on, which is really, really exciting.
It is exciting, because that's how you absorb, and that's how you, instead of just filling your brain with all these topics and not really reading thoroughly, I don't know, I think it's really good that they're staying longer and absorbing and digesting and pondering, as I say, and then they come out with a clearer understanding of where they are or how they think, because it's so important, I feel, that everyone gets to know the truth of who they are and what they have to give to the world and to themselves and all of that. And so that's exciting to hear that with what you've created, you're keeping people there longer so that they can absorb.
Yeah, I'm finding right now, when it comes to like changing behavior, the word discipline comes to mind. Having a routine, having like our AI can go back like 50 previous entries and extract memory and data from your previous journal entry. So, to have the ability to get into something where you can have streaks and you're getting rewarded. We've gamified the app, so as you're benefiting yourself, you're getting points. But what people don't know, Deborah, is it takes 66 days. It takes 66 days for a behavior done routinely over time, to become a habit. And you look at today, everything is a pill. Everything's a fast hack. Everything's 3 ways to better your mental health in 3 days, or, a 5-minute thing. It's like, you didn't get to where you're at in 5 minutes. What makes you think you're going to get out of it in 5?
Exactly.
It's insane how we think we're just going to take a pill or go to the gym for a week or read a book or watch a podcast or listen to Joe Rogan. All of a sudden we're going to be like in this great, it don't work that way. It never has, it never will. It takes time. I think 66 days personally, probably short, but that's what comes up when you research this stuff. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. It takes a long time to form good habits, and that's what we don't have with kids. Parents don't have 66 days in a row to sit down and talk about vaping. They're lucky to have 60 minutes.
Yeah. Point made. Yes. Well, let's take our break now, because when we come back, I wanted to talk more into the habits around money, which is your wealth, because everyone has issues with money, their thoughts around it, and it usually comes from the way we were brought up and listening to what our parents said. That's a big piece of it. And so there's a lot of work to be done to change those kinds of habits of thought around money so that you're not living in fear when you're 35 or 25, or, well, put it right back to Generation Z. So we'll be back in a moment. I'm going to give the phone number out again. This is a live show. You can call in, ask Jeff a question, or make a comment. We welcome it all. 833-220-1200. We'll be back in a moment.
Take a journey to a place of the divine love within with Deborah Beauvais on the Love by Intuition Show, Monday through Friday at 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. Eastern. Our message is love in the purest form. The light within us all is a guide to recall our beginning, to learn to love self and humankind, and to feel the higher power of our own divinity. To attract love, one needs to be love. Come join us and step into this glorious vibration called love.
Delight your kids with an enchanting journey by reading the Paper Doll Kids children's book by Deborah Beauvais and Janine Sullivan. There's even a catchy tune, Kids for Love Song, produced by Bob Sherwood and sung by kids just like yours. The story weaves around 7 paper dolls flying around the world doing good deeds as they bring important attention to our endangered animal friends. There's even a magical ring with a universal message. Kids become interested in service projects, action through compassion, and planting seeds that nurture positive change. The Paper Doll Kids and Kids for Love Song are a production of the Kids for Love Project. Get the book now on Amazon Kindle and the song on CD Baby or iTunes.
Are miracles real? Can you move from mayhem to miracles? 30 prominent authors say yes as they share their high fives and down lows of challenges, abuse, addiction, and love. Experience hope, the magic elixir of miracles, through the personal stories of New York Times bestselling authors James Redfield, Dr. Bernie Siegel, Sister Jenna, Reverend Temple Hayes, and many more. If you like bestsellers, chaos to clarity, and crappy to happy, you'll love crying and laughing through mayhem to miracles. Sacred stories of transformational hope. Available now on Amazon and in bookstores worldwide.
It's a child's job to play, to learn, and to have fun. It's an adult's job to keep them safe. Did you know that 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys will be sexually abused before the age of 18? Every day, families enter the Children's Advocacy Center because a child's courage to tell someone what happened to them. Keeping our children safe starts with a conversation. This is Michelle Aranger, Executive Director of the Children's Advocacy Center. Learn more on how to keep your child safe. Visit cacofbc.org. This message made possible by the Fall River Rotary Club.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.
And we are back, and we are going to be talking right now about financial insecurity, and that's the number one stressor for older Generation Z. I was not aware of that at all.
Well, it's amazing, Deborah. If you look at when I first got into this space, obviously the attention was on drugs and alcohol and stuff. And I would go to webinars and I would, listen to podcasts and read books, trying to immerse myself in as much education on this topic, okay? Mm-hmm. And all these sessions I attended and all these just, big-time advocates, very well-known people would have all these, discussions. And I never saw anything about a healthy relationship with money. I just didn't see it. And that was what I did for 32 years. So it's like it was staring at me right in the face. Health and purpose were pretty easy to come up with, but the third one was tough. And there's 2 statistics that I saw that convinced me that we needed to add this on the app. One was, you already said it, Forbes magazine came out and said the number one stressor for older Gen Z, 18 to 26, was financial insecurity. Now, when I say that, you have to know what insecurity means. So it isn't kids are worried about their money in regards to making it. What they're worried about is their lack to have an intelligent conversation about money or wealth with friends and family. And so it's insecurity. And so, like a lot of things that we're insecure with, if we don't deal with them, they become problems. And so that was the first statistic. The second one was 77% of parents in the United States live paycheck to paycheck. So just think about that for a minute. So 80% of the parents in these homes, in the households of these kids where their number one stressor is money, 80% of these parents don't have enough, they live paycheck to paycheck. It's just the end of the month they're out of money. So it's like, what a toxic cauldron of just poor relationships with money. But no one ever talked about this. Now, there are advocates that just do financial education for young adults, but they don't do anything with health and purpose. So they're very isolated. So I thought, okay, those are my three tenets or pillars of the app: health, wealth, and purpose. So that was the idea behind adding the wealth part, was some of these statistics I started seeing.
I think it goes back, and this may not connect, but I do believe that it goes back to self-worth, valuing who you are. When you value, and I'm talking to the parents, when you value who you are and you know your truth, then you have a different outlook, even if you are struggling temporarily. And the way that I've been there, and, it's with the one paycheck, I'm still, but anyway, I was a single mom, a widow, the whole thing. And so you get to know fear of not having enough. But when you also grow up that way, and then you continue that theme, you're stuck in that mindset. So you have to change what your mind is telling you, even if you are struggling. And then what happens is, because you have a whole different outlook, because your mind is telling you that you have value and this is just temporary and you can make it all happen, then it will happen. But kids need to see that from the parents in order for them to feel that. And a lot of parents, even if they're not struggling, it's money doesn't grow on trees. There's all these sayings that they say to the kids. So then they start to think, oh, so I have to worry about money. And then you're right. Parents don't get into talking about money in a positive way. But I truly believe it goes back to self-worth. And I don't care if you're 5 or 95, it's what you think about yourself. And naturally, if you're 5, you're being taught, and so you're absorbing whatever's being said to you, whether you're worth or not. And then you have to break that. That's part of that whole money journey. But I didn't realize there was that many parents that do not talk about it, and that these kids are insecure because of it.
Well, there's another issue here that, again, I never saw. I see a little bit more now because I'm in that space a little bit, but was this issue with gambling. So the statistics I just saw said about 9% of college students today have a problem with gambling, addiction with gambling. Okay.
Wow.
5 years ago, that was about 3%. So we've gone from 3 to 9% in 5 years. And how? Well, obviously having a casino on your phone, which you can basically do, and depending on what state you live in, you can bet on everything all day long. And so, back in the day when I gambled, you actually literally had to call somebody and work with a bookie and all that, which was a deterrent. Now there's no deterrent. There's no pain point. You just download an app, you get credits, and there's Eli Manning and Peyton Manning on TV promoting it. It's like, so that's a spoke on the wheel of the wealth wheel is gambling, and about 86%, Deborah, are men. So young college men take up the majority of the problem gamblers. And men are already struggling right now with identity and toxic masculinity and all these gaslighting things you see about. It's not okay to be a man anymore. And again, I'm 58, so I'm going back to a time when I was a child, and just kind of looking at how we grew up. Not that that's going to happen today, but it's like, there's something missing with this gambling, and we're not talking about it enough. And it's kind of set aside as not a big problem. I will tell you right now, gambling can kill you. Many people have taken their own life because of financial issues that came from gambling. So it is a big problem, and we need to address it.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. But that makes sense because there's, even in our family, we've had young men on the computer all day, playing games. Those that aren't old enough to get a job and work, and then some of them stay in that space until they're 25. So it's then that comes with, as we age, as you know, then comes choice. And with and you've talked about that, I believe, in the first show, with all the things that we, each of us, make a choice on. We then make a choice, do we want to stay in that space or do we want to get out of it? And then we have to work on that and make that our focus. And choice is everything. Not that it, and it's hard, as you know. Some of these choices we make are really hard.
To parenting, it's like, we don't want to make the choices for our kids, but we want to explain to them the consequences of poor choices. So, I think too many parents want to make these decisions for kids. They want to do everything for them, and that's creating another generation of just very unresilient kids that the first time something happens, they absolutely lose it, and they just haven't been dealt any adversity because mom and dad did everything for them. I was kind of on the cusp of that. I was growing up, my kids were growing up during a time when I probably coddled substantially more than, say, my parents did. I grew up with three brothers, and you can imagine what my mom and dad would do with four sons. You guys go out in the woods and figure it out yourself. If you come back to eat, great. It's like, that's what we grew up in, and so we just figured out ways to take care of ourselves. Today, mom and dad they're calling the coach, they're calling the teachers, they're stepping in for their kids, they're doing everything, and the kids never have to do anything.
Right. It creates the child or the young adult to figure out a solution, and that creativity is what we all thrive on. And then you're empowering yourself once you find the solution, and that kind of cultivates the foundation for future choices and future solutions, and then you thrive on that. There's so many pieces. I mean, there's just so many, as we know, there's so many pieces. It is a huge topic, but there's a lot that we can do to kind of guide and then leave it up to them. I'm a proponent of leaving it up to them to figure it out and be there for the support, but let them figure it out, and they become wiser and empowered, and that develops into more self-love, and then you want to make a difference in other people's lives.
I mean, that's really, I think, how we really right this ship is to get away from fear and scarcity and more love and abundance. And, my darkest moments after all this happened, I had so much love around me, but I was so dark and closed, I didn't see it. And once you open your heart in the same environment, so let's say something else happened, now I'm a little more seasoned, I would open my heart quicker, and that would get me away from the misery I went through when all this went down in my life. And anybody listening, these are little skills that you can learn, that you can pick from certain different coping mechanisms and just be able to get through some of these tough times that we're all going to have. I mean, nobody's going to get out of this unscathed.
You're exactly right. No one is. And sometimes, people think other people have it easier, but we're here to learn. We're here to learn, and we learn through our feelings and adversity and finding love for ourselves. Well, we have a few minutes left, and I want you to give out how people can contact you and the Brightn app again. And what would you like to leave the listeners with?
I would leave. I'm going to start with that first because I'll forget. So I'll do the contact information last. But I would leave the listeners with this, that, and I've got a lot of quotes that I use, but the first one I'll say is, purpose becomes passion when it gets personal. So if you're struggling with what's purposeful in your life or what your passion is, look at your life. Like, look at personal, something that happened in your life personal. Whether your dad died of Alzheimer's or a sister of breast cancer or a drunk driver killed your brother-in-law, something personal in your life. In my case, it was death and fentanyl and, recovery and alcoholism. But find something personal and make it your passion. And it's like, and that's what I did. And I think a lot of people that I've seen that are very running nonprofits and things like that, Deborah, that started with a personal tragedy and they turned it into something big. So that's what I would leave your listeners with. And then the contact information is Jeff at brightnapp.com. That's my email. So Brightn, again, is spelled Brightn. There's no O. So if you want to email me, Jeff at brightnapp.com. Our website is just www.brightnapp.com. And I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. We do have a TikTok account. We have Instagram. So if you can't find me, you're just not looking hard enough.
Mm-hmm. Good. And what do you see for the world going forward? Do you have hope that we can all come together?
Yeah, I do. I have as much hope as I've ever had in my life, because I personally benefited from altruism and goodwill and people who believed in me when others didn't, or I was really struggling. So it's like I'm just this average dad living out in Iowa. There's nothing special about me. So I can do all that. Yes, there is. Well, okay, there is. I'm avoid trying to be narcissistic, I guess. But anyway, there's a few things special about me, right? But so, I think my hope comes from I've benefited. I wouldn't be here had I not had people believe in me. So to pay it forward, my life's passion, my legacy is to do that, to make an attempt. And the app is just one. I have many more things in my mind that I want to work on, but and do pay back, pay forward, make that ripple, and then get out of the way and try to empower the next generation to think like this and not look at being a victim or they're getting out of the country because somebody won, or it's like, we got to change this victim mindset. And let these kids know that they got the greatest opportunity to be the greatest generation of all time.
Agreed. Beautifully said, and a great way of ending the show. So I want to thank you so much for coming on the show again. We're going to watch you and see what the app is doing as we go along. And everyone, reach out to Jeff. And if you have kids in your family, young adults, get them to sign up and learn more about the 3 pillars, which is health, wealth, and purpose. Until we come together again, au revoir.
Are you seeking a clearer path to love? Then tune in to the Love by Intuition show next week. All designed to your highest good. To contact Deborah Beauvais, owner of Empowered Connections, call her at 508-226-1723. That's 508-226-1723. Or link on to lovebyintuition.com. Remember, we are all one, and we are all part of the miracle of love.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.